That's me. Okay, here we go. I learned about Mumbi's book through a local group. I immediately bought it. I read it in one night and went and met her at Brookes and asked her to come and join us for this talk. I was really so taken by this story and the beautiful writing that I really thought this was what we needed to have as an opening of the creative talks here at Brookes. And then together we decided to get Sarah on board just because we really wanted to have the expertise and the perspective of a very established author to come and sort of maybe give us a feedback and give us a thoughts. So that's where this came from. The book has had some fantastic reviews. Maybe I'm going to read some of them. You might not like this. An amazing story of a strong and determined woman, an amazing account of resilience, bravery, and belief, an accurate presentation of domestic abuse information, a book written from the heart, a heart-wrenching and powerful read, such an inspirational story, gripping. And I really agree to all of that. And I just want to begin, obviously, with the content of the story, because it's really what happened to you that's really sort of a difficult time of your life that really sort of drove you to respond, react, and express yourself through the book. Tell us a little bit about the story.
Well, the story is about myself, as you said, and I didn't at first think about writing. I just was having these reflections, and then there were so many things in my head, and I started jotting down little bits here and there. And I found that as I write them down, it's like my mind is being a bit freed to think about other things. Because it was so big and everything was so muddled up, and I couldn't make sense of it. I just couldn't make sense of it. I was trying to untangle the bits, and I started writing. And at some point I thought, oh, I could write a book, but I didn't know how to write a book, and I had no idea whatsoever. And I was looking at the newspapers, the ones that they throw in the door, and I saw a small advert for Oxford University, and they were doing little classes, evening classes. Oh, I thought I could do that, and maybe I can write a book. I'm saying I'm really shortening it because it has been a journey of maybe it's been like 20 years. And since I thought I could write a book, it's been 10 years, and I did the little course like 10 years ago. But I'm very busy. I'm very tired. There's no time for inspiration. I try to write, some friends say, write 2 pages every day. I take the computer and I just doze. I don't even write a sentence, and I totally give up. And then I just got locked up in Kenya for COVID, and I came back. I had no job. And then I had all this space, and I had enough time now to think about I started getting the inspiration, and I could sort of see a story. And I thought, actually, I'm not going to look for a job. I'm going to try and write. And I started. And then it wasn't hard then. I was fresh. I was rested. And I think now I had the story because I have lived it. I have had time to reflect and work on it and sort of try to understand how the whole thing happened to me. And also during COVID, it was happening to so many people. And it was in the news. I went to London one day and I saw a notice on the bus stop by the government, I suppose, and it was saying, we work at home. We are domestic abusers. I'm like, that's it. So I got into it, and I really, for 3 months, I just wrote and wrote and just wrote the thoughts that were in my head. And that is, the story is about my marriage, and how it all went long, and it started going long and I didn't do anything because it was kind of happening to everybody. It was kind of the norm, and I didn't have the ability to question that norm. But after those years, and after mine went so long that I nearly got killed in it, I thought, no, I want to share my story. Maybe somebody can read it and somebody can think, yeah, I need to do something before it gets to that point. So the story is about myself and all that. It's a life story.
And it's a
Sad
very
story, but it's not sad now. I don't like to be sad about it because I've learned so much and I want it to be beneficial to others. It has been beneficial to me. I've grown in my own self-awareness, and I would like to do a bit of awareness thing about the issue that plagues a lot of people in the society.
Mumbi, you said obviously that it's a very, very personal story. And I think that by reading the book, there are moments that are very personal, very intimate, and I guess very painful to write. But then you also have a very clinical, which I think is really striking description of the domestic abuse. And when you talk about some of the patterns that seem to sort of repeat in other stories, like the use of silence, you say in silence, domestic abuse thrive, you say that, or the fact that there's a victim, you go back to the abuser many times, or that sense of shame and guilt that as a victim you feel. And I think that, how did you connect these two? Because it's quite the book alternates. It's almost like educational in a sense that you're providing guidance to other women, but then I felt totally drawn into the story. So was there the intention? I mean, did you think about that? You're muted. Yes,
that was the intention, because when it happened to me, I couldn't work out like why. This is a person I met, I fell in love with them. Why? Oh, I was asking, I had so many whys, and not many people wanted to talk about it and sort of help me to understand. I just thought to understand, because there wasn't much else I could do at the point where I got out. So I was seeking to understand, and I went on a search to understand the what is happening behind it all. And I also did a course in Laskin in community development. And I would say I'm very grateful, because that was an eye opener, because it's kind of was the beginning of showing the light about these things, the working behind the scenes, that just because I am a woman, this can happen to me and it is okay. Before, I couldn't get any connection at all to what happened to me and where my life was and how it all started. So I was very lucky to go on that course. I think it's one of the best courses I've ever done. Yeah.
So in a way, it was intentional, because one of your readers say that the book is uplifting. It provides courage. It is empowering and educational. So you did have that intention in a way. And did you expect that people would react to that way? Because I think it's obviously extraordinary.
I hope so. In my community, you don't even mention that thing. If you mention, you get that reaction that is, you just shut up. You just can't talk about it. And that is one of the things I wanted to sort of, and because I can't talk, I can write. And hopefully that way I can have access to people. And I didn't want, I was thinking, I have gone through all this. I have sons and daughters. I want to do something small about this. It can't just end here with me. So yeah, it was very intentional and it was intended like that, but I didn't think it would, I'll get the access that sort of I got.
And Mumbi, you said it's really beautiful. You said you couldn't say it, but you could write it. So the decision to write your story rather than paint it or sing it or any other form of expression, you know, was it quite, you went straight with the idea of writing? Writing came to you as the way to tell your story. Was that something that, you're muted, you're muted.
Sorry, I keep doing this. I'm sorry. I'm not very, very good at writing, but I started talking a lot since this happened, because I believe that I was so quiet for too long. Maybe if I was brave enough to talk a bit more, possibly I would have had an input, possibly. But then the embarrassment and the shame that is attached to the subject is like a taboo subject. So I wasn't brave enough to talk. And when I started talking, I still got the resistance. I'm not much of a singer. I don't sing much. I sing in the shower only. I am not good at singing, but then a lot of things I do is to do with writing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of accessible to me. And I didn't see I could get a lot of access to talk to anybody, even on a one-to-one. The only way I have been talking is like when I meet somebody and I decided I'm not gonna keep quiet. I'm not even gonna pretend that I'm more good and perfect in my life. And people will normally ask, oh, are you here with your family? Yes, who have you got? I say, I've got children, and that's it. And then they want to know about my husband. So I'll sort of give them a little brief. And then surprisingly, they will tell me so many things, because a lot of people have gone through things, but they don't talk about it because we are all good. And sometimes they almost like prescribe, they say, oh, you live here with your husband. I'm like, no, he's not with me. He nearly actually killed me, so we are not together. And a bit of shock, and then they start talking to me. And I've made a lot of friends. I've made a lot of rapport with people who are going through. That's why I decided maybe I can do a bit more by recording it in writing.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about the process of doing that. I mean, from thinking about writing these ideas, as you said, you know, thoughts every day, which I'm sure Sarah will love, the fact that sort of as a writer every day you spend a bit of time and do that, to the actual publication. I mean, there's such a beautiful cover. I mean, I wouldn't even know where to go. You know, tell us what you did.
Okay. I did something called mentorship. There's a lady bishop friend of mine, and she does very good work with mentoring in our communities. I met her inadvertently at a meeting that I had gone to, and she spoke, and I thought, I would really like to speak to this lady. I would like to know how she is a woman bishop, because those women who are doing very well, they intrigue me, and I want to know a little more about how they manage to go through all the barriers, which I'm quite aware there are many in the home and in the work and everywhere. It's like you have so many hurdles to go through. So I stopped. She laughs about it because I waited for so long to speak to her, and she had a queue. And I said, no, I'm not in a hurry. And then she told me what she does. She does mentoring, and she explained a bit. And then I said, I'll call you if you are happy. And I called and we talked. She has written 15 books. So I said, I would really like to write them. So in the mentoring, at the time my life was so many bits, so many little projects that were all over. So she helped me to organize myself, like prioritize what I need to do, because I have children, they were younger, and I had other little projects, but they were all unfinished. None of them was like, that's complete, I can do something else. They were all hanging, lots of ideas that are not doing anything for me. So she helped me in just, I would go for about 10 months. That was before COVID. I would see her every month. We made, she told me to write what I wanted to do, and I wrote down in order of priorities. We sort out, like I wanted to go spend time with my parents, which I hadn't done for so long. And she would tell me, go and see your parents. These are the things you do. It's a gift, you need to give them now. So I went, and by doing that, my mind was kind of free, because when I have all these things all spread out, I am not really making an impact anywhere in my personal life. So I sorted that, and I would do things. And I did so many things. I was really happy, and she would also pray with me, and it worked for me. And then about the book, that was higher up in the priority area. So she told me, you need to start writing what you want to write about. I have some materials, maybe I can write another whole book, but it's all mixed up and everywhere. So when I came to sit down, when COVID came, I did it in 3 months. I didn't have problem, because it was all there, and I had written bits and pieces, kind of just organizing it. And then she connected me with people who are writing, and I would say she really connected me with people who are helpful. Then they would refer me to somebody, like she referred me to an editor, because now I've written, so what do I do next? So she referred me to an editor. I waited for her for 3 months, and then she said, actually, I can't do your work, but I can refer you to somebody else. And she referred me to another editor who was really a godsend. She's done so well, and she's done such good work. And she did it like she went out of her way to, I believe she did more than she really had to. It was awesome. And then the editor said, I don't know if you have a designer, I can refer you to somebody. And she did again an awesome job. The artwork is so good, I liked it. So that's how it was done. Yeah.
Recommendations. Sarah, is that the way it works? Do you want to just come in and maybe just give us your thoughts?
It certainly can be a way it works. Hello, Mumbi. I love your book, by the way. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Huge achievement. Certainly within self-publishing, which is what Mumbi's done here, then it often really helps if somebody recommends you to somebody, because it's such a personal thing. I think writing a book is so personal, especially when in Mumbi's case, it's the story of your life. And to just sort of, there are resources online to find people who can help with the editing, but it's such a precious thing, I think, at that moment, that finding somebody who you can trust, and that level of recommendation when the person knows you and also knows the person who might work on it, I think can be really important in terms of really shaping that material. Can I ask a question, Daniela? Is that?
Of course you can. Go for it.
So, Mumbi, I was really interested in the whole description of your process, and I wondered, the editor that you worked with, did she work on sort of the structural side of it? Would you sort of say, you'd put together all of these amazing recollections and the pieces that you'd written over the 10 years. Did she sort of work to shape the narrative, or was it more that she was checking things like punctuation and going? There are structural editors and copy editors, and I'm curious as to which function she performed.
Okay, she didn't work on the work I had done over the 10 years. The story was the work. I did the work for the 3 months, which was the story, because there are other different little stories here and there. So I didn't give her all of it. In fact, I believed she would just do, I said to her, there isn't a lot of work, you're just going to check the punctuations and that. I write stuff, I do assignments and things, so I'm familiar with writing. She said, you'll be surprised. You miss your own, I can't remember what she called it, like when you're writing, you can't, because I know what I'm thinking,
Yeah.
I might read what I'm thinking.
Yeah, you fill in the
So,
gaps, don't you, for yourself? You know
yeah,
what it
yeah,
should say rather than necessarily what it says in
yes,
somebody. And every reader is different. Every reader will bring a different experience to your
yeah,
words. So the job of the editor is often to make sure all of that's there on the
yeah.
page for the reader to find when they come to it.
So she did, if structural editing you mean by telling me, actually, this chapter can be here and that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly
She
that.
did, she
Building the
did that.
structure of it. Yeah.
Yeah, she did that.
Oh,
And
brilliant.
she
And did it
did that.
change much in those conversations or?
No, it didn't change that much, I don't think. It didn't change that much.
And how did you find that process of, because I think sometimes people can find that people either love it or they don't. I think this idea of collaboration on something that, you know, has sort of sat in your brain for so long and then comes out. And I wondered how you experienced that collaboration.
I found it actually very, very nice. Very, okay, she made it very easy because the first one, she said, you have a lot of reds, but don't panic. Uh, because I
I've
was
heard
gonna
that.
panic. I was gonna just need to go to the beat. She was
Yeah.
very, very good. So she would ask me, like what I meant. I would be talking about somebody, maybe I'm not clear who it is. So she made it very, very easy for me, or I found it easy. I don't know which one it is. I think she made it easy for me. So
Probably
we
both.
worked very well with her.
Well, it sounds like you had an excellent connection with her, which I think is
We
so
had a very good
important for those things.
connection.
Yeah.
Very, very good connection. Yeah.
Oh, it's
And
fantastic.
it was a very good experience. Even I
Oh,
wasn't
good.
frustrated, and she would send me and I would just do the work and send it back.
It sounds like you were very open as well to this idea of working with somebody who has the experience of, you know, of working with writers. And so you were able to accept that. I know sometimes people are resistant. They sort of say, oh, it's my story and I need it told exactly as I've told it. Whereas I think that extra, I myself find the collaboration, I'm always quite relieved when I get to that stage, you know, and I'm not having to make it all work on my own anymore, you know, because you can't see the wood for the trees and you don't know if there's any kind of
Yes,
story. And the relief when somebody else also gets to start to have opinions on it, I always think brings it to life a bit, you know, and they're invested in it as well.
yeah, it was very, it was so good to have somebody else look at it. It gave me, increased my confidence. And then she immediately, I've been surprised with it, much as everyone is surprised, I would say. And she would say, this is so powerful. And me, I was just writing, I didn't think it was powerful at all. But she kept saying that, and she encouraged me. She encouraged me so much,
Oh,
and
that's fabulous.
she said that she was really touched by the story, and it need to be done. And it made me like have more zeal to publish it if I lose
Oh,
it.
she
Mm.
sounds like an excellent editor. She
She
really
was
does.
super
I think
excellent.
that a good editor will elevate the work, you know, will sort of by elevating the writer.
Yeah,
Because it sounds like she was sort of saying to you, you know, maybe put more here or, you know, this is so, because there are some parts of that, of your book that are just incredibly powerful. And it
yeah,
feels like when I was reading it, I was sort of partly reading it with an, you know, an editorial or a writer's eye and thinking you could see the places where you had sort of paused and given it more air, you know, when the
yeah,
momentum of the story required more space.
yeah.
And that sounds, you know, like she was a wonderful person. So,
She
Daniela, I'm
was.
going to nip in and ask one more question
Go for it. Then I've got Nikki there without any encouragement. Just ask one. Maybe yes. If I can just take this opportunity, if people have questions, you can add them in the chat, or you could just raise your virtual hand, and we'll come and get you. So yeah, you go.
Right. I'll ask the last one, and I'll stop being greedy and hand over. So I was really struck, and I wondered whether it was a deliberate choice. So you name everybody. You know, we know your children, and we get to know your sister and everything, but you don't name your former husband. And was that a sort of deliberate creative choice?
Yes, that was a choice.
Yeah, I thought that
I decided I don't want to name him.
No, and I think that in itself is again a really powerful creative choice.
Is it?
Because well, it really is, because
I love you being surprised, Mumbi.
I'm surprised about the journey. I'm so surprised.
You're just so instinctive at it, Mumbi. You don't but yeah, because it shapes where, you know, if it was a painting, it's like you've painted him in a milder color or something. You know, you take our eye away from him and you reprioritize yourself and your children, which I just thought was a really interesting thing. And I thought you had to have done it on purpose, because everybody else did have names, but I wanted to just check in with you about that.
That's what I had to do. I had to try to put him aside and focus on my life and focus on the children. They were little small, and I thought if my energy is going to him, I haven't got any energy left to use here. So, and now I don't think about him much. I can even forget about him for months or years, which is lovely.
That's fantastic.
So he didn't need to be part of my story. He has his own story and his own life now.
But I love that, you know, the craft of the story demonstrated that, as well as the words of it. You know, it was sort of, that it was built into the craft was wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
So I'll let you talk to. So Nikki's question.
Daniela, Nikki is asking how you found a mentor, because I think it's really important, and I think you have said how important having a mentor is. And how did you find your mentor?
My mentor, I found her I won't say accidentally, because I went to this Christian gathering and she was the speaker of the day. And I was quite inspired by her speaking. I didn't know about her books and all that by other point. And then I waited to talk to her personally when the meeting was over. So she told me about what she does, and I sort of connected with her. And then I found out that she does the writing, which was one of the things I was dreaming about. Actually, the title of my book was supposed to be Keeper of Dreams. The Keeper of Dreams. I'm still gonna do that one, but then was overtaken by this one, which was a part in my story already. So me and my editor, we agreed that is the one that is appropriate to this one. Yeah, I found her in a meeting.
Any more questions? Nikki, go for and Annabelle. Sorry, I'll do Annabelle and then I'll come back to Nikki. Yeah, Annabelle.
Thank you so much, and it's lovely to hear about how you've framed it and everything. And within this, it's an amazing thing that you've been able to move on and said this is in the past. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you've managed to move on? I think some of it's the writing, if you've said, but just I think it's remarkable after suffering.
How did I manage to move on? I think I didn't have an option not to, because I would look at my children, I'm like, I could exit, but what about them? And I think I just had to, I couldn't bear to leave them and just deal with, I didn't have many options. But what mostly helped me, I'm a Bible believing Christian, and that is where I found most of my inspiration and encouragement. And I found stories in the Bible that are much similar to my own. And I'm like, okay, this is not a new thing. And actually, I'll quote the Bible here. It says that nothing is new under the sun. So I'm like, okay, even this is not new under the sun. Somebody else has gone through it. Actually, I quoted one of the ladies who had almost a similar scenario. And we learn from scenarios even in life. And that is what I hope even my story is gonna do, is gonna encourage somebody else who is feeling like this is it. I cannot do anything about this. Of course, where there is life, there is always hope. You can do something about it. And I encourage myself for my own sake and the sake of the children. And the other one motivating thing, when I woke up, I'm like, I didn't die, but I'm not gonna be a prisoner of this. I'm not gonna be a victim all over again. I'm gonna get out of this any way I can. And I think just adrenaline to start with, and just living day by day, and time helps a lot. I had a lot of support from my pastor. I had a lot of support from my family, and I'm really grateful for all the people who have supported me through the journey. I didn't do it alone. And I'm saying this because it's very important how we start with people when they are going through difficult patches. It can be a different thing, not just like this one. It can be anything else. But that support in the critical time, in the crisis, so they can go over the crisis and then they can move on. That is how I can't really explain it very well. I think
you did. I think you did. I think you did explain it very, very well.
Thank you.
Just as a follow-on, and Nikki, I'll come back to you. There's a question in the chat asking if the police were involved, and if so, how they responded, and whether you felt they were supportive.
Yes, they were very involved, actually, and I'm very grateful to them. Actually, I think I even acknowledged them in the book. I was taken out of the house by police, by the ambulance with the police, and we went different ways. And the police came back the following day to sort of get the story from me. It was very hard at the time. And also my house, I must say this, my house needed cleaning. I didn't have money, and they said, you need to clean that house. And I just arrived in the UK. I was like, I think a few months. I was 2 weeks in the city, and I didn't have money. So they said, you need to do, they said industrial cleaning or some professional cleaning. I'm like, oh, how much is it gonna cost? It's gonna cost you £500. And they just saw my face because there was a lot of blood in the place. And they said, no, don't worry about it. I just come from theater. And I said, okay, whatever will be, will be. So they went and they came back and they brought me the key and they said, your house has been cleaned. Don't worry about it. And they brought me flowers. That was over the top. I'm like, Lily, wow, these are good gentlemen. 2 police officers. And they were very, very supportive, I would say. In my case, they were.
Lovely. Nikki. Yeah. And then we have another one.
I'm happy to sort of wait, Daniela. You have got another question in there.
That's okay. You go. I think we have a bit of time.
Yeah. Okay. I was just first of all, wow! I can't wait to buy your book and read it. I really can't, and I shall be doing that the minute I come off this call. I hope I can get it on Amazon. Can I?
You can.
Oh, great. Okay, perfect. Okay, Christmas present to self. I'm just interested in your, not at all. I'm sorry, this is quite a personal question, actually. And you don't have to answer it by any means, but I'm just interested in your children's response to this. And I ask you this from a personal perspective, actually. I don't think I've gone through anything quite as similar as your situation, but I do have some experience of domestic abuse, and I'm just wondering how you navigate the children's knowledge of that. I suppose, not really knowing your story, I'm guessing that the children were very aware of what happened.
Yeah, they were aware, even when it wasn't bad, they were aware.
Okay.
But like we usually do, I thought there was more and they didn't know. But we talk with my children, and sometimes one of my sons said, oh, this. I'm like, did you know about that? And he said, yes, I did. We know even this and this. I'm like, how do you know about that? And my son said, Mom, children are small. They're not stupid. Okay. So they know, even if they don't hear it, children are very good with nonverbal. They read the cues, they read the moods, they know, they definitely know everything. And the other thing is that a lot of times they think they are the cause of these things. So they would try to sort of make a sort of semblance of peace by being quiet, but they will try to think, if I'm good, then there won't be chaos. It's so complicated for them, and it affects them. You said, how did I navigate with the children when it went that far? And they were asking me, when is Daddy coming? Because they were all supposed to be together. And I said, I'm sorry. I just had to tell them the truth. Like, Daddy isn't coming home. I don't think he's coming home anytime soon. But when you are older and you can go and you want to go and see your father, you can go and see him. And when you can be safe, when you can keep yourself safe. But for now, it's you and me. That was the most difficult thing. In fact, thinking about how the thing hurt my children, that is more traumatic to me than the actual things that I went through.
And Mumbi, there's a question in the chat. When you look back, is there anything you could have done differently? Are there any red flags that you overlooked?
Yes, that is my niece over there from Kenya. Thank you, Terry. Yeah, there are a lot of red flags. They are always there, but we always think that I can fix that. I can fix that. It's going to change. It's going to get better. But usually it doesn't get better. Usually when it changes, the flags are there and they are flapping all over your face, they are probably gonna get worse. Whatever those flags are signaling is probably gonna happen at some point. So it's best to deal with them at that point when you're seeing the flags. Never ignore the flags. Yeah, they are there. For example, my ex had a drinking issue and I was aware he loved a drink, but when we were dating, what's the big deal about the drink? But I didn't know it was gonna become a major problem in our house. And there are a lot of other things that I noticed. Maybe somebody is angry, but the other thing, you have to be really aware and really be observant, because if you are not, when you're dating, someone is able to correct themselves very fast. So you might actually miss the flag. But now looking back with the knowledge that I have now and the experience I have now, yes, I can see that was a big flag flapping in my face. But I did think it was. Another thing is inconsistencies. When somebody says this and they don't do this, or they say this, or they make an arrangement and it's moved forward, that person is telling you, I cannot be depended upon. But we think that when we get to the house, everything is gonna be made, and they are not gonna start to do what they are not. And if they can do it when you're dating, chances are almost That is a personal opinion. 100% they are not gonna do it when you get in that house. Sorry, that's just a personal opinion.
Yeah, any advice for women navigating dating? That's a tough one.
My humble opinion is that not just dating, but relationships. All relationships, they need boundaries. Another thing, we need to be self-aware. You know who you are, what kind of a personality you are. Because if you are not self-aware, then you might not. I think my self-awareness at the time was, now it's quite sharp, but that time it probably wasn't. So the biggest thing I have learned is about boundaries. And I think I would say it works, children, colleagues, everywhere, relationships. Yeah, my relationship with, it's just like a contract or a deal. It starts from here and from here. The minute you start going beyond that, pushing, because they get pushed slowly, 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 and before you know it, is now being an abusive relationship. Because when the boundaries say, I'm this sort of person, this is what I like, and you also understand what the other person like, and if there is mutual respect, then you should not be abusing that. And we should not do to people what they don't really want to be done. They have a choice to make a decision about their life. Of course, there are agreements and there are negotiations, but if I don't have boundaries, even there is no room or forum for negotiation because I don't have any sort of boundaries. That is what I would say is more input.
Or your 5 top values when choosing a spouse.
Sorry?
Your 5 top values when choosing a spouse.
Whoa, that is a tough one.
This might take a few days rather than a few minutes to think.
Yeah, I think that is quite a big one.
Teresa,
values.
this is a tough one.
I think I would like somebody, first of all, who is confident in themselves and self-aware, someone with integrity, and someone who is able to respect me. We have mutual respect. That is a tough one. I need to think about it more. I don't have a quick answer to that one, but I think that is rather personal. Yeah, but I need somebody who respect other people and who has integrity, who sticks to, if they say they will do, I would like them to do. And if they are not going to do, I would like them to tell me or to warn me they are not. If I'm going to meet them, I don't want to wait all day and they are not coming. I want them to cancel if it's not happening. And if something happened, they have told me. But if I don't want to see patterns, negative patterns, because negative patterns are telling me a lot about this person. Things that are just repeating themselves, they are telling me who they are if they are negative. Even if they are positive, they are still telling me who they are, which is nice. This person is consistent, that is nice. I'm not the expert on choosing. My record has proven I haven't done that very well.
Mumbi, are you more reluctant? Are you more reluctant now to get into relationship? Is that sort of a...
No, I'm not. I'm not. I just haven't got the right person yet. I'm not.
Very good.
Yeah.
Listen, let me ask you, because you seem to have hinted a little bit at the fact that you got other stories. So what's the plan next? You're not leaving it here, right?
No, I'm not. The plan is I want to write that former story, The Keeper of Dreams,
Mm-hmm.
That is one of my ones I want to write. I want to write about nursing and nursing across the borders, healing hearts or little healing hands. I'm working on the title of that. I think it will be very interesting, and like with the work I do and the sort of things that and challenges that international nurses have to go through, and also lots of good things that happen when people are interacting. For example, I'm an international nurse, and it's so good to live with other people. That is the reason I was able to question the status quo in my community, because I'm able to look at it from outside rather than looking at it when I'm part of it. So it's very good to interact with different peoples, because you learn a lot and you know another way of life, and you always believe this is the way life is lived and there is no other way. So it's been very educational for me, very stimulating, very, yeah, I want to write about that. I'm actually
you're coming back to tell us. Are you going to come back and tell us about your next book then?
Yes, if you invite me, I'll be happy to. I'll be actually very honored to come and do that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Listen, I think we have run out of time. I really want to thank you, Mumbi. Thank you very much. This has been really special. Thank you very much for sharing this with us. And I mean, I've got to say that when I started reading and I read the first chapter, and I don't know if it's my film background, I thought that was a film, because there's an opening that I just could imagine the opening sequence of a film. So there you go. I'm just leaving it there. There you go. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sarah, for your contribution. It's been wonderful. Thank you very much for everybody to joining in and listening and asking questions. We have one more event coming up in March. We have a Creative Industries Festival from the 21st of March to the 1st of April. And we will have a Creative Brookes talk there, but lots of other events. So please watch this space, join us again, keep in touch, and thank you very much again.
Can I just say one thing?
Of course you can, as many as you like.
I want to thank you very much. And it's been a dream, and I am really honored. I want to thank Sarah very much. And I want to thank all the people who have joined in. I can see lots of friends. I can see Annabelle there. Thank you very much. A few. I'm working with a few. I'm working with some organization just doing awareness work. And thank you, Terry. Thank you, everyone. I'm really humbled and honored.
It was such a pleasure to get to meet you. Thank you.
Keep this amazing job. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Daniela, for putting this on. It was wonderful.
No, that's great. Thank you very much. Let's keep this conversation going. Let's make sure that we keep talking about this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.